Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I would love to call our first meeting of the year to order. This is the regular meeting of the Rialto City Council, also acting as successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, Rialto Utility Authority, and the Rialto Housing Authority. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Robertson,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Caracellis,
Present.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Present.
Councilmember Baca,
Present.
Councilmember Scott,
Present.
City Treasurer Ed Correa,
Present.
City Attorney Eric Bell,
Present.
Interim City Manager Henry Garcia.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Now I will ask if everybody would stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Joe Baca. And then please remain standing for the invocation with Pastor Harry Bracton, Greater Faith Grace Bible Church.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If everybody would put their hands on their heart, let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, thank you for this dynamic, wonderful city council. Thank you for what they were able to accomplish over the last year, the visions, the goals that they met and achieved. And now as they transition to the 2024 year, I pray that you give them wisdom and guidance and strategy to meet all the demands that may come their way and may drain their resources. I pray that you be able to help them to face a new challenge with new opportunities, to lead this city, and to make sure this city always operates to its full potential and all the various needs are being met. Give them wisdom, Lord, how to be firm and also how to be compromising. Help them, Lord God, to be bold and courageous at times. And we thank you for that adversity. At the same time, there's great unity. So put your hand upon this council throughout this year, and may they find unique ways to show what this city is truly the jewel of the Inland Empire. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Council, would there be any action you'd like to take before we do report out on closed session, given that we're going to go back in the closed session, or what's your pleasure?
I'll announce out on the few things that we were able to go through, so we don't have to
Okay.
repeat them later. We had 5 items on our closed session agenda for this evening. We were able to complete 3 and a remainder of 1. Public employee appointment with regard to the position of city manager. Council completed that item. There's no reportable action at this time on that item. Item 3, conference with labor negotiators. Council was able to give direction to its labor negotiators and complete that item. Item 4, conference with real property negotiators. Council was able to hear and have give direction to their real property negotiators with regard to that item, item 4. We still need to come back to public employee performance evaluation, interim city manager, that's item 2, and item 5, which is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. And we'll do those at the end of the regular session tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we're moving into presentations and proclamations, and there was a presentation, that was already presented at Mrs. Laura B. Goodley's going home ceremony, And so I don't believe that we had expected any members that were going to be here, but I did want to acknowledge, it's on the record, that we did put in memoriam a memorial for Miss Laura B. Goodley, and her birth of September 25th, 1934 to December 3rd, 2023. It's #1 series for 2024, and I just would like to read part of it, especially that in 1954, Laura married Knowlton Goodley, and together they had 3 children, Beverly, Nathan, and Kevin. Knowlton and Laura moved to California in 1962. They lived in Rialto, California for 30 years, then spent their retirement years in Cherry Valley, California. She was employed by San Bernardino County Probation Department for 28 years. She was the 4th African-American female hired as a probation officer. She retired from the county in 1995. Laura was a founding member of 2 organizations that she adamantly promoted and cherished: the Inland Empire section of the National Council of Negro Women Incorporated and the Knights of Peter Claver Ladies Auxiliary, Court 257, where she was the 4th degree Lady of Grace. She was also a member of the Diocese of San Bernardino Assembly for Catholics of African descent. She was a faithful member of St. Kateri Tekakwitha Catholic Church in Beaumont, serving as a Eucharistic minister to the sick and the elderly. Most importantly, she believed in the power of prayer, and for 35 years, she gave prayer books to those she met. I'm just going to go down and say that Laura enjoyed preparing her meals for her family and friends. She was a wonderful cook. Southwest Louisiana cuisine, including gumbo and making boudin sausages. Her favorite dessert was carrot cakes and apple cakes. She is preceded in death by her husband of 48 years, Knowlton, her parents, and her 4 siblings. She leaves behind her 3 children, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, 10 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, 3 siblings, and a host of nieces and nephews, godchildren, and many friends. And this was presented last Friday during her homegoing, and it was signed by mayor and council. And so I just wanted to make sure that community was aware. We did present that, and it's entered in our records. And so with that, I don't know if we have any other oral communications. Madam City Clerk?
Yes, we have oral communications.
She's gonna call you.
Mr. Molino, please, come on up.
Hello, Council. I'm
Hello,
Pedro
good
Molina.
evening.
I'm a local resident here in the city of Rialto. I wanted to just, on the record, just so you guys could look at the case. I did, last year, I did submit a damage case from the city. I don't know if you guys had time to look at it. I haven't got any updates or any information on that. So I included the case number as well, which is 23-881, and it's the damages caused by the city of Rialto, the city police. Also, I also requested for, my attorney requested for you guys to preserve the video footage. Also, I wanted to see if you guys could request to release the video footage so we could have that on hand. There was some stuff that happened that people should be aware of. And then my third, I own the flower shop across the street, and I feel like I'm being like every time like it tries to open up, I get hit by the code enforcement. They on the third, my tenant let me know that hey, they came by, they were measuring the floor, and then what happened is they stated that there was a noise complaint, but there was no noise being made. So he red tagged it and closed it. So I wanted to see if you guys could look at that and just so you guys could, for it to be on the record, you guys could take a look at everything that's happening.
Okay.
I'm a local resident. I'm proud to be living here in Rialto, but I feel like it's something that should be looked at.
All right. Thank you. We do have our interim city manager, and I believe there's the deputy city manager that's somewhere in the audience, and hopefully,
Yeah, he was CC'd on the email as well.
okay, and hopefully they can look into your matters.
Okay.
Okay.
And then also one more thing. I don't
Okay.
know. I didn't put it on here. So there is a lot of U-Hauls parked all over the place. And if they're running their business, they should have enough space to park it in their own lot instead of it being parked all over the place. So I don't know if you guys want to. If you guys look across the street, there's 3 U-Hauls parked right there. If you guys look at behind the flower shop, there's always U-Hauls parked there. You guys should maybe look into that and see if, you know, if the business owners needs to expand, maybe they should look into buying an extra lot, or, you know, it's becoming a problem with the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Brown is right there at the door, and he will look into those matters with you
Yeah,
and discuss
I
that.
just wanted to just bring it to your attention,
I'm-
and just because I haven't got any updates, or every time I send emails, I stop in there, nobody's working, like, you know, it's really frustrating, so.
Okay.
So I just wanted to just take the time and just come by and
Appreciate that you did.
Yeah.
Appreciate that you did.
I really hope
Yeah.
you guys could look into that. Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
That was it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Excuse me. I have Prince is trying to speak on AB 1000. So I don't know if you gonna add that to the agenda or not, but he put in a oral communication to
Well,
speak on that.
I
so-
was asking if you wanted to, again, that's why I was asking about general oral communications.
is all I
and
have.
if we wanted to take the action that I was under impression we needed to take before we started with our agenda.
Would you like to proceed to that now?
Yes, and I hope, I hope that in your reasons for that we state why is subsequent need.
Oh, I certainly
Okay,
will, Mayor.
thank you.
Staff's requesting that the council add an item of subsequent need as allowed under the Brown Act to the agenda. That item would be a consideration of a letter opposing proposed Assembly Bill 1000, as this matter arose after the preparation of the agenda and it needs immediate action by council. How did this arise after the preparation of the agenda? Staff did not become aware of the item and the urgency for the item until after the agenda was posted. The urgency for the item is that Assembly Bill 1000 is going to be heard in the local government committee of the state assembly tomorrow, and a number of cities, including ourselves, have been requested to weigh in either in support or opposition. The recommendation here is opposition to the bill, and in order for that committee to hear your position on it, we need to have you act on it tonight. That will require a 4/5 vote to add. If you decide to add it, you can place it wherever you like in the agenda. We probably will need to do a staff report on it, so I would suggest adding it as tab 3. You don't have a tab 3 currently.
Okay, all right. Well, you've heard our council's recommendation as to why we needed to address this matter. Could I entertain a motion if someone would like to?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Scott, seconded by Councilmember Trujillo.
Madam
that-
Mayor, I want to discuss.
Okay, thank you. That we add it as a subsequent need item. Now, Councilmember Baca.
I'm opposed to the motion that has been made, mainly because the public was unaware of the notice that we've decided to take up right now. And I think if we had any problems, we should have been discussing it with the author of the bill and finding out if there's any compromise or whatever that needs to be done. But for us to go against our own rules that states that any items that come before us must be made public so that the public then could hear them and they'd have an opportunity to give any kind of input. It seems like the public will not have the opportunity unless they happen to hear through the grapevines in terms of opposition or support of AB 1000. And I believe that we have a responsibility at this point to let the assembly decide what action they're going to take. And if there's any concerns on our part, before we take any action, I believe that we should talk to the author of the bill and discuss it with her and mention our concerns before we tag along with anyone else that's opposing it at this point.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to say? Because I think in order for us to actually have comments relevant to the reasons why we need to act on it, but if you want to say something before we take a vote, go
Yes,
ahead.
I did invite Aaron Brown, one of our assistant city managers, to join me on a working group within the Cal Cities organization. There's a working group on warehouses, siting and design, and a number of cities are on there. I was added, I must have been added at the last minute because when I got the email, I joined in and noticed that our staff wasn't there. So I included our staff, and a number of cities are opposing AB 1000. It basically takes away local control. The hearing is actually taking place tomorrow. And so a number of cities have a legislative platform that they're able to allow their legislative staff to be able to kind of write letters on behalf of their city council based on that platform. We don't have a legislative platform that our staff can work off of, so every time there needs to be a legislative letter being generated from our city council, we have to bring it before this body. So tomorrow is the hearing for AB 1000. Again, we're not alone. There's a number of other cities that are that have been circulating an opposition letter. We're joining a number of the members from Cal Cities in opposing it. A number of reasons. One of them is obviously local control. The other thing is that it endangers our targets for housing and meeting our housing goals. Fostering economic and workforce development in our community. We have a number of tools at our disposal, but again, this is kind of the state kind of coming in and trying to direct our local economic development decisions. So that's why I brought it before. The hearing is tomorrow. We do not have a legislative platform. This is the way that we do things. And unfortunately, we were at that workshop, the working group on Thursday when the agenda just came out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I too am opposed to Assembly Bill 1000, which is not a bill that we're voting on. It's a bill that the Assembly of the State of California is voting on. I have had the opportunity to speak to the office of the maker of the bill, as I have also spoken to a number of Assembly members in Sacramento regarding it. My main opposition is not so much of some of the stuff that's in the bill. I think a lot of that is already in our ordinance. My opposition is the state of California removing local control from cities. If we give up control, we no longer make decisions in our city that are best for our residents and in the spirit of what city government should be. So I'm opposed to the state of California removing local control from cities.
Okay. Councilmember Baca, is there, we need to act on it first. If you're going to repeat, or the point of what we're doing now is to make a decision
Have a
if we
motion and a
add it
second.
to the agenda as a subsequent need item. And I think what I asked of council, and I've heard council, and I would have waited now, but I will also say before you speak, that not only have you said we should be reaching out to our assembly members. Well, I want you to know the assembly member just coincidentally called me today at 4:02 p.m. I wonder why, just out of the blue. Thought it was time for us to have a conversation about something else. And I said to her, it's ironic, you're calling me now. It's amazing because we'd already discussed Assemblyman 1000. I went to the workshop that was held and jointly by her and Assemblymember James Ramos down at the Luna local office. And I expressed to her then, and with subsequent conversations, that I oppose AB 1000 for some of the same comments, but more importantly, I think for any state legislator to go out of their way to make certain that those of us who are elected by our local representation in each community, our community and any others, and you think that we're living here, I know I live here, I sleep here, I'm very much concerned not only about my health, but the health of the community that we live in and any other surrounding. And I told her that. And I also told her that I think it's amazing that you would broker a deal where this only impacts 2 counties out of the 58 counties in the state of California. It becomes a crippling factor to our community, our county, and to small business. Other people rely on the logistics activity that comes from the port all the way through our county and on to middle America. So it's time for us, and I said it to her today, I'm not going to spend time discussing square footage or restrictions imposed by the state, and especially this won't be impacting all of the counties in the state. It's just for San Bernardino and Riverside. I said, how dare you put us out of the economic flow and vitality for our community when there's other people. She said, well, small, but I said, but there's independent truck drivers. There's small mom and pops that have to also, they make a livelihood. They live here. We have them in Rialto. I have them in my family. And I don't think any of us, if anything, I will be advocating for the bill that will help the state, if we impose this and anything else, to give resources to small businesses, to independent truck drivers, and anyone else to help them bring their equipments or their trucks into compliance. Because I'm not gonna be a part of putting my head in the sand when I know that there's livelihood and there's children and people, and I'm gonna say, I think about everybody in our community, not just one over the other. So I would like to call for the vote so we can have the opportunity for the residents who come here and want to speak for or against it or don't even know anything about it. And that's funny, I didn't know about it either. And I hate to say to our colleague, and I've said it to our interim city manager, you said we don't have a legislative platform. We should. We've hired a state lobbyist. That firm should have been telling us what's on the horizon, besides us having to look for it out of our California League of Cities. We got a federal lobbyist, and then we get a report out on them weekly. They tell us what the status of the bills at the federal level. And I've asked Dr. Stephen, where has been the recap of what the bills passed? I got a better recap out of our attorney of the bills that affect us in any other local government. I haven't seen anything from the legislative group that we hired, so I hope that we address that as well. So, anybody else call for the question?
You have a motion and a second.
I have a motion and a second. Yes, Councilmember Baca, exactly, please, let's not repeat.
No, I'm going to repeat only that that the public, we're taking something and we're adding, and we should have allowed the public.
No, I'm going to cut you off right now and say, if you don't understand subsequent needs, because we had no way of knowing. And it's an action that we need to have our voices heard. And I'm a part of a
But it's
elected
not,
body.
it should have been the responsibility of that lobbyist that we hired,
Well-
that I even voted against, and the rest of the
Oh,
council
okay.
voted for as well. You
Okay,
know.
call for the question.
Call for the question, Madam Mayor.
I just did.
Roll call.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Baca,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Caricelis,
Aye.
Mayor Robinson.
Aye. And that
motion
item will
is
become
to
number
add
3.
Tab 3.
Tab 3. All right, thank you. Moving on. We have a consent calendar. Is there anything that we'd like to pull off the consent calendar and move forward? And I know that I have an item that I have been advised by council that I should recuse myself from action on, and I will appropriately do so. If you would be so kind, I have asked staff to usually leave me a piece of paper that tells me where it is, but council, if you want to remind me what item you,
Mayor, I believe it's item B3, warrant register 24.
okay,
It
sorry.
has to do with an invoice number 5 to the National Conference Negro Women in the amount of $3,458.80.
Thank you. Please let that record be noted. Anything else, anyone, that needs to be moved or pulled? Councilmember Baca,
Yes, item F6.
F6.
Did you want to pull,
Pulled
pull for separate discussion or just
for
pull?
discussion.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, would you like to do the discussion before we act on the whole consent calendar? You wanted to have a discussion.
We're taking it out of order then?
Oh, I thought you said F6 is part of the consent
Yes.
calendar.
Right.
Yeah, so you pull it, you want us to act on the consent calendar, then you want to vote on it separately?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion for consent calendar with the exception of F6?
Second.
Okay, moved by Mayor Pro Tem Carazella, seconded by Councilmember Scott. Any objections to the motion of everything except F6? Motion carries. Now, F6, Councilmember Baca.
Yes, just a couple of concerns that I have with the, and maybe we can get clarification and find out. One is that I know that this is up just for the first reading at this point, and will come up later on. We're going to be hiring a new city manager, and I felt that a new city manager should be able to have the input in terms of the realignment that is being suggested here right now in reference to what's been proposed in front of us. And then I also had questions in reference to the two assistant city managers that we will be proposing under this change. I'd like to see, before we take any action, is cities comparable to us that have two assistant city managers, or if they don't, at least so we can look at in terms of that. And then under the demographics that and then under the two assistant city managers, what would their salaries be in terms of the two individuals? Would one get more than the other, or would they get the same? I don't know. I'm just trying to read this as it is. And then I'm looking at the departments that are at the bottom, and I know that we can give input and maybe change this later on, but the responsibilities of how many bodies or people that would fall under each assistant city manager, those are my own concerns. Other than that, I really don't have a lot, but it's just answers that we need to, that I feel that I need to get before I move approval of this particular item.
Okay, Councilmember Scott?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions for Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia, you have made this change to the organization, of which I do support. But my question to you is, have you conferred with the potential new city manager on this issue?
The answer to the question is yes. The prospective candidate is very much aware of all of our organizational issues, this particular topic, in the arrangement that is proposed before the mayor and council this evening. That individual also recognizes that this is a launch and that the mayor and council, at their discretion at the mid-year or at the budget, can formalize what he has initially agreed to with me in conversation for appropriateness for council responsiveness, accountability to the public, as well as a greater economy of scale and efficiencies.
And this item does not require a first and second reading, as Councilmember Baca stated?
That's correct.
Okay, and you have selected the assignment of departments to each assistant city manager?
I did in conjunction with the prospective new manager, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
If the mayor would like me to come back to some other questions of comparability, I'd be happy to address them at your direction.
Well, I think I would have to ask that. One, I was reading the report and read out as well, and I guess I understand to Councilmember Baca's concerns and comments, the fact that I don't know if the two positions were equal in compensation prior to the recommendation. And then I looked at the financial impact discussion, and what it does say is that, that it's authorizing an additional positions as one existing budgeted and filled position in the city manager's office will be reclassified to assistant city manager, which was previously assistant two. And the reclassification does not net additional costs, as cost savings have been realized elsewhere in the city manager's office budget. However, I don't think it addressed if there's going to be an increased compensation for a position, which then my concern would be that the opportunity for others to be considered, there is no real opening or posting of a position, because it does sound like, unless you say not, there will be some additional financial compensation, because there is essentially a elevation of a position that is not at the same level. That does have me with a concern about a process that would ensure that you're looking at the most even internal capable person within the existing organization. So if you want to address that,
I'd be happy to,
Thank you.
Mayor, with your permission.
please.
So the question of how I looked at that process was to not add an additional assistant city manager, assistant to city manager with the existing city manager. My goal was to create an additional position, not a third entirely new position. So the assistant two would no longer exist. And so the economy of scale was to look at the talent and to look at the appropriateness in terms of what I had internally, and then discuss those kinds of things with the prospective new city manager. So that is the reason for not doing the competitive process. The other piece that's important is that it is a zero cost to you today, because the city typically has cost savings from salary savings across the board in the general fund. The third question as to comparability in the salary is that the existing manager and the new proposed city manager at your discretion will not have the same compensation. They are on a different part of that scale. The cost of that is approximately $60,000. So the new ACM will come in at a lesser amount than the existing one. I hope I've answered those three distinct questions about choices.
Somewhat, but giving some other concerns that I don't think we were at liberty or have a discussion, I would recommend that could we perhaps table this and bring it back, and without having to find out if there's any difference, because I think I'm concerned with some other actions and the way the org chart is laid out at this point in actions. So that would be.
The org chart is your choice, but it's a launch. It's not in stone, as I have said to each one of you. When you get to the mid-year or to the budget, you have the appropriateness to rearrange it with the new manager. It is not in any way.
So this is not, mid-year is going to be what?
It's a launch.
When is our
Typical
mid-year
mid-year
discussion?
will be around March,
Mid-year? I thought it was in January.
late February, March. It will not be in January.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's an item that it concerns me, given some other things that were asked. So I would ask if we could table it and have further discussion, but if not, then
Do you need a second for that?
I'd ask if that I could get a second. Okay,
Roll call.
okay. Roll call, ma'am. I made the motion that we table it, and it was seconded by Councilmember Baca.
Mayor Robertson, to table it?
Oh, I made the motion.
Well,
I'm sorry,
doing the
I
roll call.
understand.
Okay. Councilmember Baca,
Aye.
Councilmember Scott,
No.
Councilmember Trujillo,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Carasellis.
No.
Okay. The action goes forward, then subsequent motion, please.
May, move approval of or agenda item F6.
Second.
Moved
Who
by
seconded?
Councilmember Scott and seconded by Councilmember Trujillo.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need a vote, so. All in-
Aye. It's aye.
Roll call.
No, it's aye. What do we?
Well, I don't know what
We
he-
gotta say something.
That's what I'm saying. He said
I just
uh,
asked for it to be tabled. If it's not tabled, fine.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Baca,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Carasellis,
Aye.
Mayor Robinson.
Aye. Okay. All right. So now on to tab 1. Who's handling tab 1? I've got the wrong book here. They gave me tab items. Okay.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. The item before you is requesting that City Council award a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates in the amount of $319,715.29.
Thank you.
This is for the development of the Safe Streets and Roads for All Action Plan, and authorize the city manager to execute all related documents. As you may recall, in 2023, the City of Rialto was awarded a grant in the amount of $320,000 for the development of this plan. The action plan aims to improve roadway safety by developing a comprehensive safety action plan based on safe system approach and implementing projects and strategies that significantly reduce or eliminate transportation-related fatalities and serious injury accidents. The city released a request for proposals for the development of the action plan. A total of 6 proposals were received and evaluated. Based on the evaluation criteria, staff recommends that council award a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn in the amount of $319,715.29. The cost will be covered 100% by the grant. A detailed cost proposal is included as part of your staff report. The project has an 8-month schedule, and it is expected to be completed by August of 2024. The development of the plan will position the city of Rialto to apply for the implementation grant, which is also through the same program, the Safe Streets for All. The program is estimated to have up to $1 billion through fiscal year 2026. We do have a representative from Kimley Horn tonight. He is sitting out in the audience. If you guys have any questions, this concludes my presentations. We are available for any questions.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Scott and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Carasellis. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Any objections? The motion carries. All right, thank you. Now on to tab number 2. And who's going to be presenting?
I believe I will do that, Mayor,
Okay,
if you don't
go right
mind.
ahead, please.
This is a request that the City Council introduce for first reading ordinance number 690, which will amend sections 2.12, 030, 040, or 50, and 060 of Chapter 2.12 of the Rialto Municipal Code, and will adjust the salary of the mayor, city council members, city clerk, and city treasurer consistent with California law. California law has for decades allowed city councils to set council salaries for council members, mayors, and city treasurers and city clerks. 2 years ago, we did a routine salary adjustment. This year, it's also a routine salary adjustment. These salary adjustments come in 2-year blocks. They can only be done in 2-year blocks. And this salary adjustment, if approved, can only take effect after the seating of a council member, whether incumbent or a new council member. And this ordinance, if approved, wouldn't take effect until December 15th of 2024. If approved, this would adjust each council member's salary by 10%. The Attorney General has opined that we have to do that in a specific way. You apply 5% to what the existing salary amount is, multiply that by 2, and that's the amount that's added on to the salary. Given that formula, the mayor's salary would go to $5,282.65 per month. Council salary would go to $2,113.06 per month. The clerk and treasurer salary would each go to $1,584.80 per month. State law did have a change last year, and I'll read a quote from that. One of the reasons that the state is now encouraging increases in council salary is that these increases are designated to address recent inflationary increases and economic realities to enable city council members to balance their careers and personal obligations with the calling to service of their community, and also to make it easier for members of marginalized communities to serve. In Senate Bill 329, which made changes to this law in the past year, there was a lot of discussion about trying to make it more financially feasible for people of low and moderate income to become council members and take that time to have more of like a living wage. And so that is one of the reasons for the salary adjustment as well. With that, I can address any questions that you might have, and it's open for public comment or your questions and discussion.
Thank you. Was there any, Madam City Clerk, was there anyone who had wanted to speak to any of these items? Okay. Councilmember Scott.
Mr. Vale, on page 4 of the, I guess this is an ordinance, there's a typo. It reads section 7 reads December 15th, 2022. I believe it should read 2024.
Why, thank you. Yes, that is, should be 2024. We'll make that change, and the final ordinance will have that effect when we bring it back in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Entertain a motion.
Move approval.
It's been moved by Councilmember Scott,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember Trujillo. Any objections? This is the first reading. Does it need to, if I'm not mistaken, does it need to be read
Yes.
into the record?
Yes. Ordinance 1690, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Rialto, California, amending Section 2.12.030, Section 2.12.040, Section 2.12.050, and 2.12.6, I'm sorry, 2.12.060 of the chapter 2.12 of the Rialto Municipal Code to adjust the salaries of the mayor, the city council members, the city clerk, and the city treasurer in accordance with the California law. Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Baca,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Carricellis,
Aye.
Mayor Robinson.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, that's
Now you have tab 3.
tab 3. Yes, I was going to say tab 3. And that's it. Who's going to present? Tab 3.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tab 3, the urgency item before you tonight is a request for a letter of opposition on AB 1000. As stated earlier this evening, this bill is being heard in the local government committee tomorrow morning. AB 1000 was introduced to the legislature during the 2023 session. At that time, the bill did not make it through the Appropriations Committee, and so it was tabled to a 2-year bill. The author has, of course, brought it back again for the 2024 session. AB 1000, as written, prohibits cities from approving the development or expansion of certain qualifying logistics use facilities within 1,000 feet of sensitive receptors. Tonight, staff has submitted a letter of opposition for the council's review and consideration. If approved, we will coordinate with our state lobbyists to submit to the local government committee to make sure that we're on the record with our opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. You want to call?
We have Prince.
Okay.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, and thank you, Council. I will be reading a statement from Assemblymember Luis Gomez-Reyes. Thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. Our office was surprised that this issue would be placed on the agenda on an emergency basis, knowing that AB 1000 was introduced nearly a year ago. Assemblymember Reyes has engaged stakeholders on many occasions, and most recently, about a month ago, in a discussion that included the League of California Cities. The issue is extremely important to our communities. We have heard from many residents, including residents of the city of Rialto, who have expressed great concern about siting of warehouses near sensitive receptors, such as schools and homes, and the effect on their health, especially on the health. I will start that over if that's okay.
No, I think we got it.
We got it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I do talk pretty loud. Okay. In addition to hosting meetings and organizing tours of affected areas, the Assembly member has been and will continue to have an open door policy to discuss solutions for this and other issues. Thank you.
Okay. Next up.
Next person, we have Joaquin. I think that's Joaquin.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Joaquin Castillejos. I am an organizer with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, and I'm here to ask the City Council to send a letter in support of AB 1000 and not a letter in opposition. AB 1000 is a bill that is main goal is to protect the health and safety of the community in the Inland Empire. And why the Inland Empire? Why out of the whole state are 2 counties being singled out for this bill? Well, I mean, it's not that hard to figure it out. If you look around, there are warehouses all around us. There are trucks up and down our street. There are over 1 billion square feet, 1.4 billion square feet of warehousing in the Inland Empire, and over 300 billion that are down the pipeline that are in the process of either being approved or built. And why is I don't understand the argument for why is it so astounding that the Inland Empire is the only place that we have more warehousing than any other area in the nation. We have 40% of goods crossing into our county lines every day, hundreds of thousands of trucks, hundreds of thousands of pounds of pollution, affecting our families on the daily. And the reason why we have to go all the way to the state to make these arguments is because we have local governments here in the Inland Empire who have time and time again not stopped to put a warehouse next to a school, to put a warehouse next to homes, to put a warehouse next to parks, including this city council here, who last year alone put warehouses next to Frisbee Park, next to Jerry Eves Parks, next to Bud Bender Park. Why am I not surprised that you are against AB 1000? Where even are you planning to put warehouses close to 1,000 foot of homes and parks? Are you trying to squeeze in warehouses in the last corners of Rialto that you could fit? Councilmember Rafael Trujillo, you said last year when talking about the Pepper Avenue plan, we need to invest in workforce development. We need to invest in the students. But since then, have you gone out of your way to look for high road jobs for the future generations? Have you brought any industries here that are not warehouses that will actually benefit the future generations of Rialto, or are you just pushing them out? Those that want to look for a better life to go somewhere else that's not Rialto, because all they could find in Rialto are warehouse jobs. This bill is to protect the life of our future generations, to protect the lungs of the children who are in schools, that are in parks playing, that are in their own homes, trying to enjoy their life with their families. That's what this bill is for, is not to kill jobs. It's not to destroy small businesses. My dad is an independent truck driver. He's an independent, he has his own company, he has 2 trucks. Does he want warehouses next to his home? No, he doesn't. In the dozens of warehouses next to our house, you know how many warehouses he's gone to pick up a load? 0. That's the reality for independent truck. If you don't know about the business, please do not speak about it. There's a monopoly in the trucking business right now, and most of the truckers who live in this area who are trying to run their independent business are not even able to get the loads they want in the warehouses in the area, because larger corporations have control over the loads, over the businesses, not small businesses. So it's not about small businesses. It's not about bringing jobs. It's about protecting industry. And if you want to protect industry, then you don't belong in the city council. But if you want to protect families, if you want to protect communities, schools, parks, then you should support AB 1000. Thank you.
We have Brenda Parker.
Good evening, Council. Well, I'm just here, y'all know why I'm here, because I think that you should not oppose AB 1000, but it doesn't surprise me that you do. What is pretty disappointing is Trujillo went on national television, Spectrum 1, during our referendum time, and announced to the world that our city of Rialto places a 1,000-foot buffer between the warehouses and homes and parks and schools. And here he sits today to oppose that same buffer he promised the world on national TV that we have here in Rialto. Tomorrow is committee. Tomorrow, AB 1000 goes to committee. Then it goes to assembly floor in about 2 weeks. Then it goes to Senate. What's the rush, Rialto? What's the rush? You've already done the damage. There is not a square foot of lot left to put a warehouse in a safe zone. What is the rush? So, you're not losing local control. You have just taken and abused your local control. We, as the people that have voted you into these positions to carry our voice and to help us and to keep us safe, you have taken that and you have abused that power. When you took that specific plan and did what you wanted to do with it and allowed that warehouse, when that specific plan had been in place for years, that prohibited warehouse, and we came out in groves, the community, and even some of the small businesses, and asked you all to keep that specific plan in place, you didn't. You abused your power. And you wonder why that AB Assembly bill is coming up. It's coming up because of your abusive nature of your power. And I'm very disappointed in you as a council. Mayor, if I'm understanding correctly, you attended a workshop in November where it was discussed that this item would be coming up in January. So I, as a citizen, wonder why this council and my mayor didn't notify the community that this would be coming up, so then that our voices could be heard in numbers again. Will you listen to our voices? We don't know, but we needed to be on record, just as we were on record about everything that we've done, and you still didn't listen to our voice. The city came back on January 2nd. The agenda went out on January 5th. We could have had the notice, but it's just by chance someone called me and told me that Trujillo was asking to put this on as an emergency. I don't know if it was Trujillo. I don't know who it was on this council that asked to add this tab in here tonight. But the public should have had an opportunity to comment on AB 1000. I don't know if there's any land left in Rialto. I can't see where there's anything left in Rialto, but it is just an awful sight to go through my community and go through this city that was once a beautiful city and just see concrete coffins. And not only concrete coffins, but concrete everywhere I drive, everywhere I go. What happened to healthy Rialto? The medians that you're putting in is pushing out the bike lanes. The warehouses and the truck traffic is pushing out the bike and the walk lanes and the parks and the schools and the homes and the people. What is your goal as a council? I don't see it, and I don't see the vision. What I do see is the disaster. What I do see is the concrete. What I do see is the unhealthiness. What I do see is the death. What I do see is the sickness of this city that this council has imposed upon this city from the decisions that you all have made. And I'm very disappointed. And I've known you all for years, and I've done many of things with you all for years, and it breaks my heart to know that you are willing to put us all to death for whatever reason. Some of you may have hidden agendas. Some of you may have been compensated. Well, we know some of you have been compensated because a couple of you have said, give us some money, and then we can see about your warehouse. And that's been said on this floor. It disappoints me, and I'm asking that you just wait and allow the public to comment on this, regardless how you vote, because we already know you're going to vote however you vote, but allow our comments to be on record. Thank you.
Lupe Camacho.
Thank you very much, City Clerk Barbara. Thank you. I'm here to address you today. I came out here in a rush. I got a phone call from a resident telling me that there was a tab 3. I had already been reviewing the documentation. I had had some review of what was going through. I thought everything looked okay, nothing of concern. But I got this frantic phone call from a resident, and then I received a second phone call, and this was right after dinner. So I'm here because of this sudden tab 3 that came on board. Apparently there's some kind of rush. Now I know the nice lady that just spoke may not be aware as to why this is happening and why it's being rushed and why it's being pushed through and why it's being hidden from the community, because it is being hidden from the community. You had plenty and ample time to be able to put this on the agenda. There was plenty and ample time beforehand to be able to move this through the proper channels and let the community know. And you know who you are. And unfortunately, Mr. Trujillo, you're right dead center of those crosshairs. We know there's a lot of money involved. That money's coming to you. You're going to need that money for your campaign. We know that. We all know it internally here. I'm here to make sure that the community understands, because they are baffled. They're sitting here going, why are you doing this? What is your reason? Don't you love us? Don't you love Rialto? Don't you love our community, our people? You said you do. Why are you doing this to us? Why are you opposing something that clearly the community wants? Similarly, as happened in the specific plan up north. But I'm here to let them know that there are some of us that know that it is money that has been tainted and is coming to your hands for your wonderful campaigns that are coming up. But we won't let them forget. Those of us that know how this internal system works won't let them forget. I was dragged out of my house under the urgency of coming to tell the community that and to let you know that we know why you're doing this, and you're doing this because of the money. There is no other reason. They're baffled. They don't understand. They don't believe you would trade them out, sell them out. But yes, we know you will. You want to get reelected. There's checks coming in. And I only spoke of a partial amount of the money that's actually transacting between you and those developers. I only spoke of a tiny bit amount, and that's only scratching the surface. But there's much more there, and we know that. Those of us that have been through this process know this, and some of us have turned away because of that, turned away from public office. We know that that's the reason why you're doing this, and I want our community to be aware and to be abreast of the reality of what is happening here. You have an opportunity to redeem yourself, but I understand, like my mother used to say in Spanish, el dinero es cabrón, el dinero es bien cabrón. Money's hard to turn away. Money's tough. I get it. Trust me. I know it. I don't come from a wealthy background. I come from an impoverished immigrant family. I know it's tough. But don't sell us out in the way that you've been doing so. And this sudden tab 3 to try and oppose AB 1000 and saying that you're coming up with some reasoning that suddenly you've been made aware of, even though you've known since December, that is just really, ultimately, just a sham. And we all know it. And the community sees it. So again, you may get your money for your campaign. That you will get, because you probably will vote to oppose the AB 1000. But you certainly have people that are never going to forget, and we are going to make sure the community does not forget what you are doing and what you have done. So again, I plead with you, please reconsider. This is really, really not necessary, but I know you need the money for the campaigning. Campaigning's expensive. I get it. But if you did right by us, we'll re-elect you. But if you continue to do wrong by us, the community, you can expect that you won't get re-elected. Thank you very much.
You have Pedro Molina, and that's your last speaker.
Thank you.
Hi guys, Pedro Molina. I'm here again. I was about to walk out and I just heard this tab 3 come up, and it surprised me because it's something. I live in Rialto. I'm a local resident, and I really support this bill because if you look behind you, it used to be oranges. Now you see a big old building. Rialto used to be orange fields. Now they were replaced by homes. Then now the homes are being replaced by commercial buildings, which is crazy. I live here, so the next thing I'm gonna get a bid for my house to build a factory there. It's really crazy what's going on, and I've never seen so many trucks off of Cactus, like semi trucks. That used to be a place where it used to be like a place where I never seen like semi trucks or anything. And it's so crazy because we already have so many factories. If you drive by 210, you see a lot of empty, vacant buildings. Why is that? Don't we have enough? I don't think they belong here. So every location has their zoning, and I don't think Rialto should be replaced by factories. That's one main thing. So thank you very much, and thank you for listening.
Okay, that concludes comments. Members, could anyone
Mayor,
have a-
if I could provide, before you have the discussion, provide you with some additional information about the bill's history. There seems to be some confusion about the
Please
timing
do.
of the bill.
Because I had that part of my comments from 23.
I'm
But no,
happy
go
to
ahead.
do-
No, give the chronology.
This bill first went to print in February 15 of 2003. Made its way through some committees, but it essentially died in committee. It failed to pass on its first hearing in April of 2023. There's been no action on it until January 3rd of 2024, when the committee chair received authors' comments. And it wasn't until January 4th, Thursday, the day our agenda was printed, that the committee, it was re-referred to the Committee on Local Government. And it wasn't until subsequent to that that we first heard that it was going to come up for hearing tomorrow. So this, on at least staff's part, it wasn't an idea to hide the ball. This was just the timing based on when this actually came up and when the Assembly set its own hearing for this item. So that's all I had to add. Thank you.
No, and I really wish, Council, you'd repeat that, because what I don't think people understand is the bill died, but it got the ability to be brought back. Timing, I don't think it made it seem like this, it was, for me, it was surprising to even see that we had an action for subsequent need. But I want you to go back over, how did it never made it out of committee?
It was in committee, set for first hearing in April
Of
April
20?
27th of 2023. It failed passage.
Mm-hmm.
Reconsideration was granted, but no other action took place until January 3rd of 2024, last Wednesday.
Yeah.
When the committee chair received authors' comments and a request to reconsider. And on January 4th, Thursday, the day our agenda came out, was when it was re-referred to the Committee on Local Government, and it was subsequent to that that we heard that it was going to be taken up by the committee tomorrow on the 10th. Anybody can look at the bill history information. They can go to California Legislative Information. It's the state legislative site. It's at leginfo.legislator.ca.gov. They can read the same thing that I was reading.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any other comments? Did you have comments, Raphael?
Oh, I
Councilman Field?
wanted to move.
Okay, well, then I have my comments. I appreciate everybody who came out or felt the need or urgency to rush out of their house, the same way I felt when I read this, that this was a subsequent need. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I came in, Council, and I believe Friday, the city manager informed me that this was a subsequent need item being brought. The background and action, and like it or not, at the state assembly level is this bill had died. And when somebody made a comment about me being aware of it, not aware of what, but aware that our current Assembly member James Ramos, held not a hearing, but a fact-finding, and invited the public, not anybody. I was sitting in the audience in the public, not knowing what I was coming for to hear about the logistics and transportation. Never spoke about the bill or her bill, but rather having a dialogue about the relationships of what it means to our county, and to the jobs, the labor unions. That's who was holding and hosting this. And I very much, just for the record, because as people want to stand up and say, if people don't know me by now, you know what? I'm going to always go by what I said I'd go by. As far as Pepper Avenue goes, don't say the whole council voted for it, but this is a simple majority. Go look at the record. I didn't vote for Pepper Avenue. I know exactly that we had a specific plan. I know that the community had worked hard on it, and it was a very fractured situation. That was not kumbaya on how we voted on the Pepper Avenue. I did not agree with it, and I think I made it very clear. With regards to the 1,000-foot or not 1,000-foot, we have a responsibility in the state of California by virtue of having to have a planning commission and by virtue of getting any dollars in our community from the federal level down, that we must have a general plan existing. And I won't go into details of it, but I think you guys know what the general plan is about. And the general plan is that in any community that's incorporated and unincorporated, we have to designate where certain activities go and hopefully complement or coexist. And I think that's what our general plan is about. And then we have to be responsible in the state of California by at least a minimum, but goes longer, of 10 years to do general plan update of the whole area. What we designate as residential, commercial, open space, et cetera. Then we have another element that's called a specific plan. When we haven't added a piece to our existing general plan, we have to do an amendment and update. And it's a long, protracted process, but a lot of you who are sitting in here, you know that. You've been with this and in the community long enough to know what. And so I sit here and I listen and I go, okay, for the record, I did not vote for Pepper Avenue, and you guys know that. So let's not throw everybody under the bus. Have I voted for industrial projects where they've been zoned? Yes. That is land use. And then when the person get up and want to talk to me about, I don't need to talk about things I don't know. Well, I do have family with trucking, and they're independent truck drivers, and they're doing well. And they've been running not only from California, but from Florida. And I know other ones. So, you know, we're all in this boat together. The last thing I like to say is, yeah, there's still land. I'll be happy to show you where there's open land that's zoned for industrial. But industrial means just a building. It's really going to be what can we get and bring in that building. And I'm not one that wants to see all the warehousing. I'm looking for manufacturing. Manufacturing jobs will bring in a more skilled labor. It will not just be. But that's my hope and desire. That's what I sit out and try to bring to our community and commercial development. Foothill Boulevard. You're not going to see a warehouse on Foothill Boulevard. It's a boulevard. It's a corridor. So, you know, we've got input on everything. I sit here and I don't have a problem. I'm not going to say, do I have thick skin? Yeah, I have thick skin because I'm vested in here. What I don't appreciate is when the assembly member, and that's why it died back in 2023 in committee, because it was how dare all other assembly members, if I'm not mistaken, about 120 are assembly, and the number for the Senate is a little smaller, 80, I believe. How could they be agreed to let one good meaning assembly member who's only representing a fraction of this community put the whole county, Riverside and San Bernardino, in count when we have other corridors where traffic and trucks are going to travel? Do we not care about the Imperial Valley, where they go in through San Diego Harbor, or they go in through some other? Do we not care about the Bay Area or Port Hueneme? You know, those corridors have to, you know, still have trucks. And we're working on all other solutions. So, you know, do I sound like I'm irritated and hot? Yes. And if anybody wants to check and see who is giving me money, you get to read my report. It's a financial public document. I keep telling everybody that. And you found out that when you did hear that there was money given, the man didn't sign the check, okay? But it was before we have all these state laws of what we have to report. But I'll be happy to say, when you go to look at who is giving me any support to help me win my campaign, it's going to be the majority is from these people in the community. And and term limits, want to talk about term limits? I always believe term limits, whenever it comes up, is when people don't vote you back in. Your term ends, okay? That's it, done. Da-da-da. I don't know much Spanish, but that's done. So they want to talk term limits. Anybody want to talk term limits? Term limits is when people don't vote for you. You don't have, it's absolute. So that's my comment, and that, if anybody else got anything else, if not, accept motion.
I have a comment.
I've got a comment too. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I
No,
do
go-
it
I'll
like
yield
spark
to you.
everybody.
I'll yield
Go
to
ahead.
Ed.
Councilmember Scott, or you want to go?
I'll yield there.
Sure, that's fine. My comment again is that I'm not opposed to restrictions in distances. I don't like the way this particular bill is written, but I want to remind the audience, and many people may not know this, but I also remind the council that Rialto was the very first city that put a moratorium on warehouses. And the reason we put it on was to establish distance restrictions between warehouses, residential, and schools, which we did establish. My objection, again, is because of the state mandating a law that takes our local jurisdiction away from us. Additionally, I agree with the mayor on the concept of the state and this bill only including San Bernardino and Riverside counties. For those of you that don't know it, the next big horizon for warehouses will be Kern County. So if you're gonna establish a law, it should be a state law, not a law that's specifically related to a county. For people in this community that live in mobile homes, there is no rent restrictions on mobile homes. Yet, the state legislature, in its wisdom, passed a law granting rent control to one mobile home park in the entire state of California. Those are people who have issues paying their rent, issues paying their bills, because most people that live in mobile homes are either seniors or they're lower income individuals. The city that has rent control is Anaheim, California. So this is what happens when the state comes through and passes a law that's only related to certain jurisdictions. Everybody else suffers. So if you're gonna pass a law, Assemblymember Reyes, then pass one for the entire state. Maybe I could get in behind that and support that. But don't come forward with a bill that just targets San Bernardino and Riverside counties. There are warehouses all over this state. I also want to remind the community that a lot of the paving that's been done, I agree with the comments about the mediums on Baseline. I'm not real thrilled about them either. But
Nor am
we've
I.
been able to pave a lot of streets in this city
So,
because of point of sale out of warehouses. Rialto has come in a very short time, maybe 3 years, from $10 million in sales tax revenue to $56 million in sales tax revenue. And that's through point of sale sales tax that is coming out of buildings that we want to call warehouses. Whether that be Medline, whether that be Amazon or some of the other facilities. We have an Apple facility in the city. We have a number of facilities that generate sales tax for us. In relationship to trucks, none of us want trucks in our communities, but they're here. The Alameda Corridor was designed and the concept came up, 40 years ago, Henry? And it's been planned for a long time. People just sat back and let it happen, so here we are.
we are
But
beat
again,
ourselves.
trucks deliver goods and services to our community. And I think probably most of us in this room buy from Amazon. So I, again, am not in favor of the state of California taking away local control. Local control belongs with the city. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I will second Councilmember Trujillo's motion.
Councilmember Baca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to make a statement. We have had, since I've been on the city council, about a year now and 1 week, we have had 6 warehouse bills that have come before us. And I have voted against all 6 of those bills that have come, including the Pepper that the mayor and I both stood against, the Pepper Avenue, because of the re-changing of the zoning. But it does affect a lot of us. When you look at a warehouse that is being built in the area, and the other council member that just spoke right now talked about the sales tax that has come in from a lot of the warehouses. Well, we could have probably generated just as much or even more from commercial or retail that could have been built in those areas, in addition to jobs that could have been created and stayed in the area. Then those jobs and those individuals would have been able to contribute to our city too as well. So we don't know if that's the direction that says, all right, we got X amount of dollars in sales tax. We don't know what we could have had. We know that when warehouses are built, they're taking up land and space. And the city of Rialto does not have a lot of land at this point, and hopefully we can get additional land incorporated into the city. But when it does, that means that we're missing an opportunity for a small business to come into the area. We're missing opportunities for jobs to be created in the area. And to me, that's important when we have to look at the future of the city of Rialto. Not where we're currently at now, but where are we going to be in terms of the future of the city of Rialto? And that's why I'm very much concerned, and I believe that the action that this council wants to take is not necessary. When it comes down to the concerns that individuals indicated, well, why doesn't it include other counties and why only the 2 counties? Well, the senator to be, the assembly person, is probably willing to listen and look at the possibilities of amendments to the bill. A bill is brought up. A bill was brought up in last year and is now being reconsidered. I served in the state legislature. That happens to almost a lot of the bills that come before us, and they're reconsidered. You make amendments to it. There are objections to it, and then you finalize it, you fine-tune it, and you make it that it would be available. And that might even include Kern County or other counties too as well in the bill. But we have to work with the author of the bill and suggest what some of the things that we want to incorporate into the bill. But the action that we're taking is we're saying we're just opposing the bill, plain blank. That's it. AB, 1000. We have a responsibility. We had an ordinance in place. We're not even following our own ordinance that we had of 1,000 feet next to a school, building. We know that the warehouses, the damages that it does to us in the long run. And we have to look at not the short means, because when you look at it, the health and safety of our community becomes very important. The effects it has on schools, the cost it's going to be to us in terms of the future for code enforcement, in terms of paving the roads. And if we have heavy rains, we're going to have a lot more, and the traffic congestion in the immediate area. And that's going to affect a lot of our communities. People that want to take their kids over to maybe a ball game or a soccer field or wherever they're going, they're going to be stuck in that traffic that's out there. The effects it's going to have on the quality of life is very important to a lot of us in the city, and we should look at long range, not just short range answers. And it seems like we're trying to take action right now based on some short actions on a bill, on supporting or opposing a bill that's going to be heard in committee, and committee then will decide what they're going to do. But we're saying, all right, we want to support what the League of Cities. Well, the League of Cities has a lot of developers and others that are in favor, of opposing this particular bill. So hopefully before we take that final vote, that we look at saying it's not necessary for us to do it. Our lobbyists should have informed us, did not. It was not necessary for us to violate our own policy and put it on the agenda, which we violated our own policies right now by putting it in an agenda, and it should have been on there prior to. So I object to it, and I'm going to vote no on.
All right, thank you. All right. And with that said, I think we have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Trujillo, seconded by Councilmember Scott. And as I called for the call for a roll call vote, I'm going to ask Council. Council, you're here to advise us. Have we violated any of our rules?
You have not violated either your procedural rules or the Brown Act, no.
All right, thank you. Because I just think when we as policy people sitting up here just throw that out into the audience, you're here. Yes, our lobbyists should have given us something, but in retrospect, they didn't have time to know that it was going to be placed. So with that, I call for the question. Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Baca.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Carrie Sellers.
Aye.
Who am I missing?
Mayor.
Oh, Mayor Robertson.
That's all right. Aye.
And what is the motion 41 to oppose?
Oppose.
To
Assembly
oppose-
Bill 1000, write a letter of opposition.
To write a letter in opposition of opposing AB 1000.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes business. We will be adjourning to back to closed session. I'm sorry, closed session, but before we do, I know that our community service director has been back there, and she's always has a nice recap of upcoming attractions. So please, thank you very much. Beautiful.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, here is what's going on in Rialto. On Thursday, January 11th, our Grace Vargas Senior Center will be hosting their New Year Senior Social. Volleyball opening day will be this Friday, January 12th at the Carl Johnson Gym. It starts at 5:30 p.m. Basketball opening day will be this Saturday, January 13th at the Carl Johnson Gym, starting at 10 a.m. Mobile recreation will be Saturday, January 13th at Jerry Eves Park from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Point-in-time count training will be held Wednesday, January 17th, in person or online. Miss Angie has passed out a flyer in case you guys are interested or want to hand out information to others. We will have it posted on the city website's front page tomorrow so that our residents can have that information. And then the point-in-time count will be held on Thursday, January 25th. We'll be meeting at the Carl Johnson Center at 5:30 a.m. and then we'll be going out into the various parts of the city with PD and our volunteers. Our Little Tots registration program is open. Session will start February 24th. It will be soccer and it will be held at Andresen Park. The program is for those who are ages 3 to 5. And our progress magazine for this upcoming session is online and available. We are just waiting for the hard copies now.
Oh,
And that's
great.
it.
Good, thank you, thank you. Before we go to closed session, though, I'm going to take a little executive privilege and ask if our fire chief is back there, or someone representing fire chief. I can't see. Who's back there? Anyone for the fire? Mr. Parks, would you be so kind as, given that we've had an Arctic feel and it's been cold and it's subject to drop again, I did get a note that we have whatever we have in the way of warming centers. What is the process that we have in place? I don't think we have warming centers, but is there something that we are offering?
Yes, ma'am. So we partner up and take the lead, someone from SCAG, someone from the local Red Cross. They do activate regional warming centers when the weather service warm alerts happen. That didn't happen last week. It did happen today. They have limited openings that the SCAG is coordinating with. They go out proactively and frequently and make a contact with all of our unhoused residents that we find in the point in time that's going to happen next week. And they make those accommodation recommendations based on that. And SWAG helps to coordinate the placement of those people in the shelters. During the week, in the summer we have our warming centers, which is the Johnson.
You mean cooling centers?
Johnson Center, the library, as well as the senior center. The city facilities are open during the day, but I know that frigid temperatures happen at night.
Yes.
We didn't receive any requests that I know of for assistance. It hasn't been below some of those freezing frigid temperatures like we see in the mountain areas during the deserts. So we haven't had an issue. We haven't had any environmental emergencies in the local 911 system in the past few months. And so we continue to monitor the situation and take lead from our local and regional partners. I need to start over.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted the community to know that there is a process, and maybe if it's not there, we could post it on our website so that or people can call in if they want to get more, because I don't want you to spend time with what levels of temperature it needs to drop by and how for a couple of days. But, this last couple of days was extremely cold, Arctic.
Yes, ma'am, and it's extended forecast for rain as well, not just for frigid temperatures.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. Anything else? We will adjourn back into closed session.
Yeah, I need something to go back into closed session, yes.
I'm sorry, I do need to take a motion. It's
Yes.
moved by Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Trujillo. I'm sorry. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. this meeting to order at 9:15 p.m. I would just ask the clerk, I don't think you have to take a roll call, so council, if you
No,
could be so kind.
But I am gonna state that
For the
all mayor
record?
and council did return back from closed session,
Okay.
for the record.
Council?
Mayor,
Report out.
I'd be happy to report out. We had 2 items left over from the earlier session today. Those were items 2, public employee performance evaluation, and item 5, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. Council did hear those matters completely, gave direction to staff. There's no reportable action other than that on those 2 items. Thank you.
All right. There's nothing else to add. Could we entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Carrizales and seconded by Councilmember Trujillo. Any objections? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Have a good evening.